Grab your magnifying glass and pause button because the Super Mario Galaxy movie is hiding more secrets than Bowser's Vault. Every frame is a playground of sneaky little details designed to reward the most obsessive fans. From 1985 arcade callbacks to emotional villain tributes, here are 15 of the craziest ones.
Let's go!
Number 17. Word on ship's bow. In one of the later scenes, just before the machine planet even comes into full view, the camera sweeps past the flying ships of Bowser Jr.'s army. The scribbles painted across the hull are easy enough to spot, the kind of chaotic brushwork that immediately signals Bowser Jr.'s involvement. But freeze the frame at exactly the right moment and something more specific comes into focus. The word boom is written on the ship's bow in white paint, casual and confident, like a kid labeling their favorite toy. It is a small piece of characterization that says everything about Bowser Jr. He did not commission a fearsome warship name, he just wrote what it does. Number 16. The skull in the ruins. In the same scene where Bowser Jr. is at his most terrifying, a skull symbol sits carved into the ruins on the other side of the frame. It flashes past quickly enough that most people never register it at all. The identity is genuinely ambiguous. It could be a poison mushroom, one of the darker and less celebrated corners of Mario lore. It could be the skull of a dry bones, the skeletal Koopa that refuses to stay down no matter how many times you stomp it. No doubt, the filmmakers left it deliberately unclear, which is its own kind of fun. Not every detail needs a clean answer. Number 15. The Cocktail Umbrella Koopa. In the busy city scene where Peach and Toad first wade into a crowd of Bowser's minions, it would be easy to focus on the chaos in the foreground and miss what is happening just off to the side. One Koopa is delicately placing a cocktail umbrella into a coconut before handing it to a fellow henchman. It is an absurdly domestic moment tucked into the middle of what should be an intimidating scene. The tiny flourish of the umbrella, the casual exchange, the complete lack of urgency all make it feel like this could be a beach resort instead of the staging ground for an invasion. This Easter egg says a lot about how Illumination is approaching this world. These are not just faceless soldiers marching in formation. They have downtime, socialize, and apparently have a favorite drink. The Koopa handing over that coconut is not a warrior in that moment, but a bartender. Maybe even the friendly one everyone lines up for after a long shift. That reframing is deliberate because it transforms Bowser's army from a generic evil horde into a functioning society with its own culture and daily rhythms. It hints at off-screen conversations, inside jokes, and small rituals that continue whether a hero is present or not. It is the kind of throwaway gag that rewards multiple viewings and suggests the final film will be even richer with background detail than anything the trailers have shown so far. Number 14. The Machine Planet's Mouth. At first glance, Bowser Jr.'s base of operations looks like little more than a metallic asteroid floating through space. But look again. The large crack running across the middle of the planet ship is shaped almost exactly like Bowser Jr.'s mouth when he is fully corrupted by the evil paint, a form fans will recognize from Super Mario Bros. Wonder in 2023 and from the earliest trailers for this very movie. It is the kind of visual echo that feels subtle until it suddenly is not. That is not an accident. Somebody sat down and designed an entire planet to look like their villain's corrupted face, then trusted that the right people would eventually pause the trailer long enough to notice. The crack follows the same jagged, wide-open shape, the same aggressive angle, the same restless energy that makes his transformed expression so unsettling. It almost looks as if the planet is frozen mid-scream, drifting silently through space. And if the headquarters already carries the visual language of corruption before the story even begins, that tells you something about where Bowser Jr.'s head is at going into this film. The evil paint storyline runs through everything here, right down to the walls. Even the setting feels infected, as though the environment itself has absorbed his mood and hardened around it. Number 13. Luigi's Stolen Bike. In the Sand Kingdom of Tostarena, there is a quick and jubilant shot of Yoshi riding a motorcycle and striking a triumphant pose. You'll probably L-clock the green dinosaur and move on, but look at the bike itself. It is green, and it bears a large, unmistakable L, the personal sign of Luigi. Yoshi has apparently commandeered Mario's younger brother's motorcycle without a second thought. In an earlier scene where Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi are together in that same sandy location. Luigi had a bike then. Yoshi did not. Somewhere between those two moments, a handoff happened, and based on Yoshi's very confident pose, it was probably not a negotiated arrangement. So, what is Luigi doing now? Walking or riding on the back of Mario's bike, looking embarrassed? The earlier trailers showed the brothers arriving as a team, and somehow that team dynamic has already been disrupted by a dinosaur who spotted a green motorcycle and made a decision. That thread is going to be funny whenever the film finally addresses it. Number 12. The spiny sign. As Peach and Toad navigate the futuristic sprawl of what appears to be Bowser City, the background is packed with neon signs. Most viewers will catch the obvious ones, but off to one side sits a sign bearing the unmistakable image of a spiny, one of Mario's most recognizable enemies, a sharp-shelled turtle with a permanently furious expression. What makes this land is the beautiful storytelling behind this Easter egg. You see, the spiny is not showing up as an enemy to fight or an obstacle to dodge. It is on a sign. Somebody in this city looked at a spiny and thought it was a good enough image to advertise with. That is a whole different relationship between the inhabitants of Bowser's world and the creatures that populate it. The neon signs across Bowser City are doing the work of an entire culture, telling you what this society finds familiar, recognizable, and worth putting on a billboard. The spiny sign, the chain chomp sign, the turtle shell symbol above the venue, all of them together are building a city that feels like it existed long before Peach and Toad showed up and will keep existing long after they leave. Number 11. World 2-2 hidden in the portal. When Peach and Toad step through a swirling portal that deposits them into a futuristic city, the moment moves fast enough that almost nobody catches what the portal actually is. Everything flashes by in a blur of light and motion, and your brain barely has time to register that you have just crossed into something far more specific than a generic sci-fi doorway. But if you slow the footage right down, the shape resolves into World 2-2 from the original Super Mario Bros., released in 1985. That is the game's famous underwater level, which explains why the white, tentacled squid enemies from that very stage can be seen drifting inside the portal's edges. The layout, the spacing, even the sense of submerged stillness is there if you are patient enough to see it. The gateway between two major locations in this movie is a 40-year-old underwater video game level. So someone made that decision, got it approved, animated it, and then buried it inside a scene that lasts barely 2 seconds on screen. It feels almost mischievous, like the animators were daring longtime players to catch them in the act. The bloopers drifting inside the portal are not random decoration either. They are native to World 2-2, so their presence there is the confirmation that the reference is completely intentional. Nothing about their placement feels accidental once you realize what you are looking at. You could watch this scene a dozen times and never catch it without knowing exactly where to look and when to pause. That level of detail packed into 2 seconds of footage is genuinely hard to wrap your head around. It turns a simple transition shot into a tiny museum exhibit hidden in plain sight. Number 10. The arcade joystick inside the robot. Inside the cockpit of the enormous tripod robot piloted by Kamek, there is a control panel. That alone is worth noting. But when you zoom in on the buttons and the joystick, the reference becomes remarkable. The layout, the shape, and the specific color combination of blue, yellow, and red are identical to the controls used in the earliest Super Mario arcade cabinets from 1985. The team did more than just design a generic sci-fi control panel and call it a day. They went back 40 years, studied the original arcade hardware, and recreated it inside a villain's war machine. Blue, yellow, red, same buttons, same joystick, same energy. That is the setup most people forget about entirely. The loud, coin-hungry arcade cabinet that introduced the world to Mario long before anyone had a home console. Hiding that callback inside Kamek's cockpit is the kind of decision that takes real affection for the history of this franchise to even think of. Number 9. Horns rising on the machine planet. Once you spot the corrupted crack across Bowser Jr.'s planet ship, start looking higher. On the upper surface of the machine planet, metal scaffolding and structural frameworks are already in place, and they are being built into the distinct shape of 2 large horns. Bowser Jr. doesn't have horns himself, but his father, Bowser, is defined by them. The son is literally remodeling his headquarters to pay tribute to the villain of the first film, an act of devotion that turns a background detail into a piece of genuine character work. It also mirrors Bowser's own flying castle in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. which features the same horn and face motif, suggesting the architectural tradition runs in the family. Number 8. The D-pad in the logo. When the Illumination and Nintendo logos appear together on screen, there is a plus symbol sitting between them. It is easy to read it as purely decorative, a simple visual connector between two brand marks. Most people probably glance at it and move on without giving it a second thought. But that plus sign is shaped and proportioned to match the D-pad from the original Nintendo Entertainment System controller, the Nintendo Entertainment System released in 1985, the same year as the first Mario game. The same year Mario debuted in arcades. The arms of the symbol are thick and evenly spaced in that unmistakable cross shape that defined how an entire generation first learned to move a character across a screen. Illumination appears to be using 1985 as a quiet through line of Easter eggs running across the entire marketing campaign, and this one is hiding in plain sight on the most prominent graphic in the trailer. It quietly frames the collaboration itself as an extension of that origin point, as though everything circles back to that single foundational year. Number 7. The FNAF cupcake. Tucked into the signage along the street where Peach and Toad encounter Bowser's minions is a small but genuinely puzzling image, a cupcake with teeth. There is no enemy in the Mario franchise that matches this description, which makes it stand out immediately for anyone who looks closely enough to notice it in the first place. The character it most closely resembles is Mr. Cupcake from Five Nights at Freddy's, another beloved video game franchise with its own film adaptation. Whether this is a deliberate crossover wink, a coincidence of character design, or a background artist's private joke, the resemblance is hard to dismiss and impossible to unsee once you have spotted it. Number 6. Kamek's egg reappears. After Yoshi swallows Kamek and converts him into an egg, complete with the wizard's signature glasses still visible on the shell, you might assume that is the last we see of Bowser's loyal servant in egg form. It is not. Later in the movie, during the explosion that sends Bowser Jr. rocketing upward in his battle form, there is a small object right alongside him. It is the Kamek egg with its glasses and all. That egg has survived an explosion powerful enough to launch Bowser Jr. into the air, and it is traveling right next to him like a companion. That is not a background detail thrown in for laughs. The glasses on the shell are a deliberate visual callback to make sure you know exactly who is inside. So now the question is, what happens next? Does Bowser Jr. carry the egg around for the rest of the film? Does Kamek eventually hatch back out? And how often is Yoshi planning to use this particular skill on other characters throughout the story? One swallow, and suddenly, the most loyal villain in the franchise is a piece of luggage. Number 5. The Chain Chomp sign. Peach and Toad take in the city from an elevated vantage point, and the background is loaded with the neon glow of Bowser's metropolis. Slightly off to the side of Toad, a red sign displays the image of a chain chomp, that iconic Mario enemy, a snarling metal sphere straining at its chain with a mouth full of teeth. In context, it functions like a business logo or advertisement, which is a clever piece of world building. On its own, the Koopa Empire has its visual iconography, its own commercial language, and its most recognizable creatures have apparently been turned into brands. So it suggests a city with genuine cultural depth rather than just a series of backdrops. Number 4. The monkey from Super Mario 64. In a scene that blinks past almost too quickly to process, Peach and Toad are being chased by a monkey who then hurls a bomb at them. The action is frantic enough that most viewers never get the chance to study the monkey itself, but when you slow it down, you see that the character matches precisely the NPC monkey that appears in Super Mario 64, released in 1996. In that game, the monkey was background furniture, a creature you encountered in one level and largely forgot. Here, it appears to have agency, personality, and apparently a temper. The implication is that Illumination is pulling minor characters from across the entire history of Mario and giving them real roles in this world. Number 3. The Turtle Shell Neon Sign. Still in the Bowser City crowd scene, above the heads of the various henchmen going about their daily business, a blue neon sign glows with the outline of a turtle shell. The Koopa shell is the single most recognizable symbol in the entire Mario franchise. It has been a weapon, a hazard, a power-up, and a recurring motif across nearly every game in the series since 1985. Seeing it repurposed here as a piece of in-world commercial signage, something a city would actually display above a shop or venue, feels both entirely logical and quietly thrilling. It is the kind of detail that reminds you these films are made by people who genuinely love the source material. Number 2. The giant neon blooper. Having already appeared invisibly inside the World the 2-2 portal, the blooper makes a far more dramatic second appearance on the side of a building in Bowser City. This version is enormous, rendered entirely in neon, and projected across the face of a skyscraper as what appears to be an advertisement or a piece of public art. That progression is doing something clever. The blooper shows up first as a hidden detail inside a portal that almost nobody caught, then reappears later as a massive glowing landmark that dominates an entire building. Same creature. 2 completely different scales. 2 completely different contexts. And the fact that it exists as a billboard tells you something real about how Bowser's world has been built out in this movie. The blooper is not just an enemy swimming around in an underwater level anymore. In this city, it is a recognizable symbol, something iconic enough to plaster across a skyscraper and use as a brand. The movie studio seems to be threading the same imagery across multiple scenes in a single trailer. And that kind of visual consistency suggests the final film is going to reward fans who pay close attention to absolutely everything on screen. That is a remarkable amount of thought to put into a squid that never even had a speaking line. Number 1. The Bowser and Bowser Jr. statue. In the scene where Bowser Jr. appears in his metallic skin, bandana transformed into a real and snarling mouth, there's a statue standing in the background. It depicts Bowser in full, imposing glory, with Bowser Jr. seated on his father's shoulder. It is easy to miss amid the chaos of the foreground action, but it carries more emotional weight than almost any other detail in the trailer. A villain has built a monument to the relationship he values most. The movie's central antagonist is also a son who loves his father enough to immortalize that bond in stone. In a story full of spectacular set pieces and clever callbacks, that quiet, familial detail might end up being the most powerful thing of all. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and we'll see you in our next one.